Hello everyone, it is Tuesday, September 20th, 2022, and we're here in another episode of the Arizona Cardinals Cast. I am Drew, welcoming you to the show. We're just, going to talk about a couple of subjects today. As you know, we don't like to, horse around. Let's get to it. Okay. The subject today we're going to talk about is the impact of one Justin James Watt. Recently turned 33 years old. So, J.J. Watt returned in the very first play he played in this season. He sacked Derek Carr, which sadly is the only sack the Arizona Cardinals have in 2022 so far. I know. Where's the pass rush? Anyways. But here's what the impact of J.J. Watt. It's not just you say it's an intangible thing. I know. You remember back in 2011 when Tim Tebow won 7 games in a row. It was an intangible thing. Who cares that he can't throw a 5-yard out? It's the intangibles. And maybe that's something, there are some things in sports that are just not, the tangibles, the things, the things you see on the stat sheet. Aaron Rodgers' passer rating, is the best in NFL history, for example. That's something that's tangible. Sometimes intangibles, it's not necessarily something, maybe you see on a stat sheet, but it's an element of leadership. J.J. Watt just being there just to kind of invigorate the team, and I don't think it's an accident that the Cardinals are 8-0 when J.J. Watt plays, not including the playoff game. We're not going to talk about that. We probably will talk about that a little bit later in the week, unfortunately, because they play the hated nemesis, the Los Angeles Rams, this weekend. But the impact of J.J. Watt cannot be unparalleled. I think that, we're please stay healthy this season. We'll see. If I can get, 6 more games out of him, I'll be happy. Maybe the 6 are at the end of the season. Anyways, his return on Sunday, I think, made a big impact. There was a lot of factors that the Cards won that game. But I don't think it's an accident that he got a sack on the first play. I also don't think it's an accident that the defense played significantly better in the second half. Actually did get pressure on Derek Carr in the second half, got home almost a couple times, made him a little bit uncomfortable in the pocket, a little bit tentative, and, Isaiah Simmons, obviously. I don't know if that was the power of Mr. J.J. Watt, but that was just an awesome play, putting the crown on the football, and Byron Murphy taking it to the house. So, next, every Tuesday during the season, we're going to talk about our power rankings. I'm going to talk about my top 5 teams and my bottom 5 teams in the NFL. Just to let you know, our beloved Cardinals are not in the top 5, nor the bottom 5. So, let's talk about the good first. Do you believe in Tua Tagovailoa with the Dolphins at number 5? Not as much as others, but I did predict the Dolphins to win 11 games this year and comfortably make the playoffs in the AFC. I just love their speed on both sides of the ball. I think that they just have a fantastic, underrated roster. They have a top 5 roster in the NFL, the Dolphins, and people just don't talk about it. Mostly because I think in South Florida, everybody's just, drinking pina coladas and partying on the beach rather than going and watching in the sweltering September heat the Miami Dolphins, the swimming mammals, which you might want to go to the game this Sunday. Just saying, it's kind of a big game for the swimming mammals this Sunday down there in South Beach. Number 5 worst team. The number 1 seed in the AFC last year, the Tennessee Titans. They blow a 13-0 lead to the Giants. And then in week 2, they get boat raced by the Bills, 41-7. Ryan Tannehill gets benched in the third quarter. It was mostly, I'll say pulled, not benched, because the game was already over after he threw that pick 6. It was over well before he threw that pick 6, but just the Titans look like a bad football team right now. We'll find out a lot when they battle the 0-2 Raiders in Tennessee. Loser of that game, finito, done. Even the Titans in a bad division, if they go to 0-3, especially with their looming schedule, they still have the Chiefs. They still have, in fact, the entire AFC West on their schedule. After the Raiders, they still have to play the Chargers, Chiefs, Packers, Broncos, which I don't know about the Broncos. Who knows? I thought the Broncos would be good. They still might be. A lot of room for that team to grow, though. Number 4, bad, the Panthers. Okay. I almost wanted to not have the Panthers in the bottom 5, but they are winless, 0-2. They've lost 2 very close games to the Brownies and the Giants to start the season. Baker Mayfield is definitely an upgrade at quarterback, but this team's looming schedule is just brutal. There's a chance they're 1-6, and Matt Rule is because the next 5 games, starting this week with the Saints, which I actually think is a winnable game for the Panthers, but if they lose that game, look out. That rule could be ruled out in Carolina. Baker Mayfield, tough situation. 2 winnable games that the Panthers could not pull out. They can't protect the quarterback. There's issues in the back end of the defense. There definitely are some issues with the Carolina Panthers for sure. Number 3 is the Bucs. I know Tom Brady, honestly, somebody get that guy a cheeseburger or a piece of pizza, please. It looks like he hasn't had a meal in like 6 years. I mean, it's like, geez, man, he's skinny. But you know what I will say, the Bucs can play some defense. They had given up 6 total points, 0 offensive touchdowns up until like the last 2 minutes of the game against the Saints on Sunday. Fantasy defense, good prediction there, Drew. Taking the Bucs in fantasy football, their defense, and getting them when I did. But the Bucs, you know, right now so far this year, I'd put them a tick above the Eagles. They look like the best team in the NFC thus far. We'll see what happens. They have a big game against Green Bay this week, a tough game to gauge for sure. 3rd worst team is the Seattle Seahawks. Did I skip the Eagles? I think I did. Okay, we have Philadelphia Eagles. Let's jump back to number 4. I just realized I did not talk about the Eagles. So Philadelphia Eagles. Really, their weakness could be Jalen Hurts. But if Jalen Hurts plays as well as he did last night against Minnesota, this team is a dangerous team that could win 13 games this year. Let's just be real. They probably have the best offensive line and a top 10 defensive line, and Darius Slay is still one of the best corners in football. He definitely made Justin Jefferson very frustrated last night. I actually would say Kirk Cousins probably more made Justin Jefferson frustrated than Darius Slay. But the Eagles, they're for real. You know, I predict them to win 9 games. I was way under on that. I think the Eagles are going to win at least 11 and run away with the NFC East this season. 3rd worst team, Seattle Seahawks. Let's just be real. This is a bad football team. I mean, they should have lost to the Broncos in Week 1. They got lucky to win that game. And in Week 2, the only reason why they even scored was on a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. They're just a bad football team. Geno Smith, actually, stats don't look bad, but a lot of it is dink and dunk. They have a game against another team on this list next week, so the Seahawks could be 2-1, even if they do win Week 3. Do not believe in this team. I still think the Seahawks could arguably have the worst record in all of football. Number 2, I have the Texans, the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans are just, you know, they're a flawed football team. Let's put it that way. They're Davis Mills. I like Davis Mills, but he is very limited at quarterback. The defense plays tough, but I think you can run on them. And I think when they play better teams as the season progresses, they're probably going to get boat raced. The Broncos should have killed them, but you know what? Give the Houston Texans credit for playing hard, but there are limitations with this team. They really only have one above-average skill player, and that's Brandon Cooks. And then the number 2 team on the good side is the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the game. Sorry, Bills fans, but he is. The defense is solid, but not great. But I will say they made plays when it mattered against the Chargers on Thursday. That was a big-time win. The Chargers are a good football team, and I will say they are in the top 10 of the power rankings. Not quite the top 5, though. It looks like they're going to be fine without Tyreek Hill, even though Tyreek Hill can still ball out. He's leading the NFL in receiving, by the way. The number 1 bad teams, the Falcons. And to tell you the truth, I feel kind of bad because they've been very competitive. Marcus Mariota and the Falcons have been moving the ball, but there's definitely limitations on this roster. The offensive line is still shaky at best. Defense, you know, outside of Deion Jones, there isn't really much in terms, I would say, of elite talent on defense for the Falcons. They're a very young team. They're rebuilding, but they're scrappy. I mean, they will win. They'll probably, right now, they're my worst team in the power rankings, but I actually think a few weeks from now they will not be at the bottom. Maybe in the bottom 5, but not at the bottom. But right now, they're 0-2. The Texans had a tie. The Seahawks had a win. I think the Panthers are still better than the Falcons. So the Falcons sit at the bottom. You know, some people are saying, how about the Bears? I actually have been kind of surprisingly impressed with the Bears. The Bears are number 6 on this list, just barely. The Titans getting wedged in. And the Colts, maybe I just can't quit them, but the Colts have looked pretty bad so far this year. And the Jets, you know, great comeback win. You would have been down here, Jets, but, you know, you get the big one over the Brownies. You are not in the bottom 5, but there are some bad teams. And then number 1, really unequivocally, I have to give it to the Bills. Like, they don't have a weakness. Josh Allen is probably the early season favorite for the MVP with the way he's playing. The defense is just unbelievable. They haven't, like that game against Miami, though. I will say, Miami is going to get some big plays on this defense as long as they can protect Tua, because I don't see anyone even on this fantastic Bills defense who could slow down Jalen Waddle. I mean, this is the game where they're probably going to miss Tre'Davious White, a lot. Is trying to cover Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle all around the field. Maybe you just rush 4 and play zone. That's what I probably think McDermott will do. The Bills' pass rush is pretty unbelievable. As you can see, Ryan Tannehill and Matthew Stafford are still having nightmares about Von Miller. Still having nightmares about Von Miller, who, first ballot Hall of Famer, still a heck of a player. I think by year 3 of that 6-year deal will be being like that was, but you know what? With the way the investment was made, the Bills are trying to get their money's worth this year, next year, and if Von Miller helps them to a championship, then it's money well spent by the Bills front office. So that's my top 5, bottom 5. Thank you. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Stu Drew. I will be off tomorrow. I will be back on Thursday. We'll have a little Thursday night song. Thursday night's game is kind of meh. And we'll start to talk about the Cardinals and Rams this weekend. Have a great day, everyone.